Chapter 18. Wearing the helmet and armor he'd inherited from his father, Boba Fett stood before Darth Vader in a spaceport reception room on Ord Mantell, a mid-rim planet that had once been an ordnance depot for the Old Republic. The room had a wide window that overlooked the landing pad where Vader's Lambda-class shuttle was taking on supplies. Vader's own armor and inner workings had been fully repaired, leaving no evidence of his duel on Mimban. "You seek certain rebels, Lord Vader," Fett rasped through his helmet's vocabulator. "So does my employer, Jabba the Hutt. Possibly in satisfying him, I can satisfy you also. And collect 2 rewards instead of just 1, bounty hunter," said Vader, not missing a trick. "A particular rebel interests me, Luke Skywalker." Boba Fett gave a slight nod, tilting his helmet forward. "A companion of the man I'm after, Han Solo. One might lure the other, Lord Vader." But by now, Vader was familiar with the name of the captain of the Millennium Falcon, the ship that had fired upon his TIE fighter at the Death Star battle. He was not interested in why Jabba the Hutt wanted Han Solo, but behind his black mask, he felt a grin twitch across his lips as he considered using Solo as bait for Skywalker. "You are enterprising, Fett," he said as he turned for a lift tube that led down to the landing pad. "Perhaps we will meet again when your enterprise bears fruit." Leaving Fett on Ord Mantell, Vader returned to the Executor. Although he would be pleased if the bounty hunter's plan worked, he was unwilling to wait for information leading to the location of the new base for the Rebel Alliance. Finding Luke Skywalker had become more than a goal for Darth Vader. It had become his purpose. Already, thousands of sensor-laden Imperial probe droids had been dispersed to remote worlds throughout the galaxy, and thousands more would be deployed within the coming weeks. Sooner or later, one of those probe droids would turn up something useful. 3 standard years had passed since the Death Star's destruction when Vader, standing on the bridge of the Executor, learned that a probe droid had transmitted images of a large power generator on an ice planet in the distant Hoth system. "That's it," Vader said. "The rebels are there." He refused to listen to his pompous chief officer, Admiral Ozzel, who suggested the probe droid could have turned up anything other than the rebel base. "That is the system," he insisted. "Set your course for the Hoth system." Unfortunately, the rebels had already begun an emergency evacuation of their base, while Darth Vader's armada raced to their destination via hyperspace. Even worse, Admiral Ozzel allowed the Executor to exit hyperspace too close to the Hoth system, triggering sensors that alerted the rebels to the armada's arrival and allow them to raise a planetary energy field to deflect any aerial bombardment. After relieving Ozzel of his life and promoting the more capable Captain Piet to the rank of Admiral, Vader gave the command to send Imperial troops down to the ice world's surface. "He's down there," Vader thought with absolute certainty. "Skywalker is down there." To their credit, the rebels did not surrender on the spot. Their laser-firing snow speeders swarmed the towering Imperial all-terrain armored transports that lumbered over the ice and snow, and their planetary ion cannon managed to disable the orbiting Imperial starships long enough for most of their fleet to escape into space. But in the end, they were unable to prevent the AT-ATs from destroying their power generators, and wave after wave of superior Imperial firepower ensured that the rebels could never win the day. It was hardly a victory for Vader, who landed on Hoth while the battle was still raging. The last of the rebels were still fleeing from their vanquished base when he entered a cavernous, ice-walled hangar with a squad of snowtroopers, just in time to see the Millennium Falcon launching at high speed. Vader did not know whether Luke Skywalker had boarded Han Solo's freighter, but quickly sensed that Skywalker was still alive. He had not forgotten Boba Fett's plan. Turning to a snowtrooper, Vader said, "Alert Admiral Piet and all Star Destroyers that the Millennium Falcon is attempting to leave Hoth. Our primary objective is the capture of that freighter. The passengers are not to be harmed." Vader returned to the executor and was seated in his meditation chamber when Admiral Piet entered his sanctum. As the robotic clamp lowered his helmet over his scarred head, Vader sensed Piet's discomfort at the sight of the Sith Lord's wounds. When the helmet was in place, Vader's seat rotated within the chamber until he faced Piet, who reported, "Our ships have sighted the Millennium Falcon, Lord, but it has entered an asteroid field and we cannot risk..." "Asteroids do not concern me, Admiral," Vader interrupted. "I want that chip, not excuses." Knowing better than to disagree with Vader, Piet said, "Yes, Lord." The upper hemisphere of the meditation chamber descended over Vader. Hoping to gain some insight into events to come, he breathed slowly as he cleared his mind of all thoughts, opening himself to the dark side of the Force. Skywalker. He heard the name in his mind as if the Force itself had whispered it to him. But is it the Force? Vader wondered, or am I too preoccupied with finding... Suddenly, Vader sensed a disturbance in the Force, and not just a subtle fluctuation. Something major was about to happen, something incredibly significant, something that will change everything. Asteroids were pummeling the Imperial fleet as Vader continued the search for the Millennium Falcon. Vader was on the bridge of the Executor when a very nervous Admiral Piet reported that the Emperor had commanded Vader to contact him. Proceeding to his personal quarters, Vader stepped down to a circular black panel on the floor below his meditation chamber. The panel was a HoloNet scanner that allowed him to transmit communications across the galaxy. As he dropped to his left knee and bowed his helmeted head, the panel's outer ring became illuminated in a pale blue light. Vader slowly lifted his gaze to the empty air before him, and the emptiness was instantly filled by a large flickering hologram of Emperor Palpatine's cloaked head. "What is thy bidding, my master?" From light years away on Coruscant, the Emperor replied, "There is a great disturbance in the Force." "I have felt it," Vader said. "We have a new enemy, the young rebel who destroyed the Death Star. I have no doubt this boy is the offspring of Anakin Skywalker." Offspring? The surviving tissue in Vader's throat suddenly went dry. Through his shock, he managed to say, "How is that possible?" Without offering an explanation to support his stated conviction, the Emperor answered, "Search your feelings, Lord Vader. You will know it to be true. He could destroy us." Having fought Luke Skywalker on Mimban, Vader was even more aware of the young man's powers than was the Emperor, but he also knew something else. Luke was as ignorant of their familial connection as Vader had been. If he had known the truth on Mimban, Vader thought, I would have sensed it. Still grappling with the Emperor's declaration, he struggled to find words that might discourage his master's interest in Skywalker. "He is just a boy," Vader said. "Obi-Wan can no longer help him." The Emperor believed otherwise. "The Force is strong with him," he said. "The son of Skywalker must not become a Jedi." The Emperor had not said in so many words that he wanted Luke Skywalker dead, so Vader, needing Skywalker alive to accomplish his goals, took a different tact. If he could be turned, Vader suggested, he would become a powerful ally. "Yes," the Emperor mused, as if he had not thought of this possibility. Vader could only imagine what the Emperor was thinking. The Sith had long maintained the rule of two, one master, one apprentice. Even Vader knew that there wasn't room enough in the galaxy for 3 Sith Lords, and yet the Emperor's hooded eyes seemed to sparkle as he said more empathetically, "Yes, he would be a great asset. Can it be done?" "He will join us or die, Master," Vader said. He bowed, and the Emperor's hologram faded out. Now that the Emperor was interested in Luke Skywalker's fate, Vader knew he had to do everything in his power to find Luke before the Emperor found him. If his own soldiers and even the infamous Boba Fett could not locate the rebel leaders, then he would have to take more proactive measures. Vader sent out a signal, summoning bounty hunters from across the galaxy to meet him on the Executor. It was not long before 6 hunters, including Boba Fett, were lined up on the Executor's bridge. Mere seconds after Vader addressed the assembled group and stressed that he wanted them to find the Millennium Falcon without killing anyone on board, the elusive Corellian freighter emerged from the asteroid field. The Star Destroyer Avenger gave chase, but moments later, the Millennium Falcon vanished from the Avenger's tracking scopes. It seemed the rebels had escaped once again from the Imperials. But they didn't get away from Boba Fett. Several hours after the Avenger lost sight of the Falcon, Darth Vader received a transmission from Fett, who had employed stealthy measures to find the rebel ship limping across space with a damaged hyperdrive on course for the Bespin system. Turning to Admiral Piet on the Executor's Bridge, the Dark Lord said, "Put a course for Bespin."